Welcome everyone to Tilium's webinar regarding the evolution of tag management over the last 5 years. My name is Dan George, and I'm the Solutions Consulting Operations Manager at Tilium. I'm coming up on my 6-year anniversary at Tilium and have been one of the first-hand witnesses to see the change in the tag management space, and I'm excited to be talking to you today. The webcast will last approximately 20 minutes and will be recorded for your on-demand viewing after the event is over. So today's webinar agenda will focus on the past, present, and future of tag management. We'll start with the beginning concepts that made up tag management and end up with where Tilium sees tag management going in the next 5+ years. And a quick note about Tilium. Tilium empowers the new era of real-time customer engagement and marketing. We enable global businesses to unlock their customer data and create more meaningful, relevant customer experiences. All right, let's get started. So Tilium is pretty fortunate to employ many analytics, advertising, and martech technology veterans that have some great insight into where Tilium has started, and that's what we'll be covering here. They were around when ad servers introduced the concepts of redirects. They witnessed the instability of this when one single redirect broke along the way and prevented all following piggyback tags from firing. It kind of reminds me of when I was a kid and one of the Christmas lights would go out on a strand. It would just ruin the whole string. So it's frustrating on all levels, right? So redirect failures gave way to the first container tag by Atlas, which then led to DoubleClick's DFA, so DoubleClick for advertisers. Agencies quickly picked this up and used this as a one-to-one page-to-vendor code proxy. But this wasn't exactly scalable and gave way to the invention of tag management so that this process could become more robust, and that's where we ended up today. The first official tag management system was created in 2005, and then many tag management solutions were developed within a couple years thereafter. Many have come and gone, others have tried to reintroduce themselves, but Tilium has remained steadfast in our approach to forming a standard data layer and learn from our time in the industry and evolve with the landscape. Now that we understand the origin of tag management, and before we get into what has changed with tag management, let's focus on the purpose of tag management in the first place. So tag management was developed to better enable managing your marketing ecosystem. This ecosystem will likely be made up of vendors who are attempting to analyze web traffic, and they do this by measuring hits and other events like click events or video views. The idea was to give marketers a little more freedom from their current dependency on IT, as well as increase management of their data, such as what data is available and where that data should be sent. Therefore, tag management solutions provided a method for tracking events such as those page views, click events, and video views. And for each event, there is specific data associated to those events that a TMS can help you gain access to. For example, a page view will have information like the page name, the page type, perhaps the product viewed and the product price, plus several other key pieces of information. Or maybe a video view will have the video name, the total length of the video, and the current milestone of that video. So a TMS allows you to control the data associated to each event and then which subset of that data is sent to each visitor or vendor and with simple mappings of that data. Once that data is received by the vendor, you'll be able to analyze and visualize the data. So in the end, you have cleaner data, easy to access data, and also a simplified UI to manage your ecosystem. And the industry is now seeing this trend, and even independent research backs this up. So it's no surprise, though, that in a survey that Gartner did in 2016 on martech, that they stated that customer data analysis, modeling, marketing, analytics, and attribution are the marketing activities that drive the highest value for organizations. And what do all of these activities have in common? Well, they rely heavily on data collected through first and third-party tags. So you see, tag management is foundational to data-driven marketing because data is foundational. Okay, so now we understand the data and tag management and how it can be a digital transformation for your business. Let's start talking about how we can get to this point in tag management evolution. So if we look at the marketing technology landscape from 5 years ago, businesses are now more complex and savvy. The marketers have an increasing number of available tools at their fingertips, and deploy all of these technologies is much more challenging than ever before because of this growth and complexity. And I used to lead many of these deployments and can say for sure that the complexity of implementations has increased tenfold over the years. 5+ years ago, marketers were only just getting their hands on controlling their ecosystem, so it was much less about pushing the envelope than just getting the basics in place. So it was crawl, walk, run. And as we move forward, we'll see how this has enhanced over the years. So first, part of getting those basics right was the deployment of a data layer. While many vendors did not require one, Tealium has pushed for one from the beginning. As a matter of fact, Ali Benham, our president and co-founder, was on the W3C, so the World Wide Web Consortium committee that helped build out the initial data layer specification. So let's talk about that data layer and what it is before moving on. So as I said before, each event that occurs on your website, there needs to be a structure of your data that is easy to read and easy to access. So the data layer is that structure. And while it pretty much sits behind the scenes, it holds all the key information that your vendors are looking for. We call it a layer because it is a logical element of the tech stack, meaning you can determine which tags fire based on the data and which vendors receive a subset of that data layer. It's also a layer that can be leveraged across all your devices to help normalize data points so you don't have entirely unique data sets per device. So some of this data can be specific towards e-commerce transactions, it can be visitor behavioral data, mobile app usage, video data, and much more. So that data layer sits between the application layer, which is, if you think of the back end of your website or your mobile app, and the experience layer that is shown to your visitor or app user. So that data layer there in the middle helps translate how your business perceives data into English readable specifications that can be shared across your vendor ecosystem. So English readable is an important one. So notice in the utag_data object shown here, we have easy to understand variables such as site currency and product ID instead of s.prop42 or custom dimension 10. So I don't know about you, but even me being a developer at heart, I much prefer to see easy to read variables. So having that solid data layer in place is foundational to any tag management solution. So back to our table showing the state of tag management 5+ years ago. Since the martech landscape was much smaller, the number of tags implemented on a site were therefore much lower. The focus was mainly on analytics, attribution, the search, remarketing, display ad world, and a few other specializations such as site personalization, A/B testing, or the surveys on the website. But the breadth of vendor choice just wasn't there otherwise, and the marketers themselves were growing, learning about all those different technologies. They were looking for a TMS that benefited them across many aspects, and they wanted that single view of the data as well as a marketer-friendly service with as little JavaScript encoding as possible that provided them some more autonomy. So with this type of service, they knew it would help decrease time to deploy complex vendors, such as analytics and personalization vendors. A side effect of some of that that's not really listed here is that marketers were really working in silos. It was rather common that channel teams really worked together, and therefore businesses were a bit segregated in their marketing efforts. We'll talk about this in a future slide, but that single view of the data, the marketer-friendly services, you got marketing autonomy, decreased time to deploy vendors, and a customer-friendly user interface. Those were all the key benefits that marketers were looking for with a tag management system. So now that businesses are growing and are more complex and savvy than 5 years ago, they do have all those tools at their fingertips. The deployment is much more challenging than ever. And tag management itself is still only nearing the end of the early adopter phase though. So research shows that 70% of enterprise in the top 100,000 digital properties do not use a tag management solution, though that number will likely shrink dramatically as the mass adoption phase is quickly coming our way. You may ask yourself, why is there such a large percentages of enterprises without a TMS? But to help answer that, we believe we often see that marketers are focused on a channel-by-channel basis, and with the marketing landscape growing so quickly, it's difficult to look at that bigger data picture and think about how they can keep up with the industry. But there is no need to just start sprinting right out of the gate with no preparation. Let's start back at the foundational layer and get a TMS with a solid data layer, and that should be the first step in the growth and preparation for the future. And that will, in the end, help all of your technologies and your marketing ecosystems speak to each other. And as previously stated, with those businesses being more complex, I did want to show this graph that shows the marketing landscape now And if you remember back to where we saw 5 years ago, there were much fewer vendors to choose from. Some of these companies lean on one of the big marketing clouds to help when they choose to use the tag manager. Others choose to use the build your own marketing cloud, so you can pick a best of breed solutions for your sites. So there are many different ways to find what fits best for their requirements. But either way, Tilium's 1,000 plus tag integrations assist with deploying all these vendors, and Tilium's dedicated customer success team is available should any questions arise. So now that we understand how wide and complex the marketing landscape is, we can talk more about how the industry is currently running. So all major tag management systems strongly recommend a data layer because the data layer is still the foundation for properly managing when the vendor should load and what data should be sent to those vendors. One could say that the industry is moving towards more data management than just tag management, meaning getting the right data to your vendors at the right time to make actionable decisions in real time or near real time is very important. So at this point, we start to talk and move more towards the ability to visitorize your data, meaning the business is focused on taking data across touch points of a customer journey. So you think web, mobile app, call center, or point of sale, and they want to take all those touch points and combine them into a single view of the customer. So this affects so many other aspects of the business beyond just tag management, such as data ownership, governance, and privacy of that data. So this data needs to be connected to the various vendors used in your ecosystem, whether it be via tags on the site or even a server-side API connection. So having a solid and normalized data layer from the start paves the path for businesses to take full advantage of their marketing ecosystem. And so additionally, now that you're dealing with visitorized data, businesses start to move away from that channel silo I mentioned earlier, and teams begin to start working with each other with a single common goal in mind, and that's that customer at the center that we need. So single view of the customer, data governance and ownership is a big benefit. You're able to connect several different martech systems together much easier. This is cross-device, which is huge. We have data normalization, tracking conversion activity becomes easier, and now we're looking at extending audiences between multiple audiences. So hopefully we've made it clear that data is at the core of everything we do. Tag management is the foundation to allow marketers to act on that visitor data to create more meaningful experiences. Why is this important? Well, as the world of marketing becomes even more expanded, as Internet of Things devices and iBeacons and mobile apps and other touch points begin to come into play, which this means almost everything, including your refrigerator, is now able to connect to the internet. And so now is the time to build that data foundation to properly grow your business for the next 5+ years. So let's look at the future and where Tilium sees tag management evolving over the next 5+ years. So, well, we keep talking about data, and that's still going to be the biggest piece of the pie. The talk is going to be about what to do with that data now that you have it. And so, for example, we know companies that are looking to build a co-op to share data that is collected client side. So let's say a travel company knows a visitor is a high spender and wants to share that first-party data with another company for the on-site experience. So that could just be one example of data sharing between companies. Another option could be view-through tracking, and that's actually a big discussion point that we hear, that companies really want to take that ad data that they're seeing off-site and tie it directly to a visitor, and building some great reports off of that. So third would be event standardization, and this is going to be a key player to help your business build specifications of your data to ensure the data on your site is correct in the first place. So while we're helping you build that data layer, we want to make sure that the data associated to each event is also there. So it's kind of doing due diligence to double check your data. So maybe you have an order placed, and it was an affiliate attribution order, and you want to be able to make sure you're declaring certain data points for that event, so when you go back and build reports, you know exactly what the affiliate should be charging you. So that's a big one that we will likely see coming our way. And while those first few points are doing something with the data, the next 2 points are important to discuss regarding getting data to vendors. And this is going to be a key one that we see as we move forward. So while most tag management solutions use the client-side delivery model, so meaning from the browser, many companies are looking to lower the number of tags on their site And this is where server-side delivery of tags comes into play. So I want to first be perfectly clear that not all tag vendors can handle a server-side model for two big reasons. First, some vendors just simply don't support it. And secondly, some tag vendors can't operate without their tag on the page. So an analytics vendor, no problem. They're just going to receive data from the web page. But a personalization vendor, and this is a great prime example of their tag has to be on the page. Without their tag there and without their library loading to control content, no personalization can occur. So therefore, the data collection vendors, such as the analytics, maybe the crash vendors for your mobile app, and a select few display vendors can actually accept data in this server-side fashion. So, and really, when we start talking about mobile app SDKs, it's even more restrictive due to just the environment that mobile apps live in. But the point of this is that JavaScript is a very important piece of controlling a website experience. So if you are trying to find a vendor that can work with an API, you need to make sure you're doing your due diligence when researching those vendors to ensure they can support your requirements. And then to follow up on that server-side model, tag vendors actually spend an exorbitant amount of money on infrastructure to support receiving that data, whether it be client-side or server-side. So this is really known as the push model. So the website or the app is pushing data directly to that vendor. So we know a well-known advertising technology spends over $3 million per year just on infrastructure to accept the data from their clients. But this is becoming more and more costly as time moves on, and their focus should really be on improving their advertising technology, not building infrastructure. So some of these vendors may be moving from a push model to a pull model. And what this means is many of the vendors in the marketing landscape don't need data in real time right as the event occurs. And they know this and are looking for a pull model where they can reach out to grab a blob of data, for example, a JSON file structure, and bring that data in at their cadence. And so what's the advantage of that? Well, this will allow them to ingest large sums of data in bulk instead of event by event. And that means this saves them a lot of money. So this affects your business though, because it's one less tag running on your page, which means your site performance increases. And as we all know, site performance is tied directly to conversions. So it's a win-win. Lastly then, identity resolution is going to be a major factor. So as mobile apps become a bigger chunk of the market, as all these other devices with the Internet of Things are coming into play, marketers need to be diligent in the process to identify cross-device visitors and bring all those events together to build the single view of the visitor. So you may be asking yourself, what do I do next? How do I get started with tag management and a data layer so I can act on my data? According to Gartner, there are 4 simple steps for implementing a tag management process. So first, plan. If you haven't conducted a tag audit, this is a great reason and a great place to start. Doing an audit will help you determine which tags exist and where, whether certain pages and content have been tagged correctly, and if the tags that are firing are passing the right information. So then once you know the current state of your website, you can then figure out what needs to be fixed or cleaned up and where the go forward process and what the plan is. Second then is to document. So it's not exactly smart to assume that all knowledge, training, and learnings will happen naturally. So be sure to create a knowledge base outside of a TMS tool by the way of documentation. We would recommend including things like the roles and the responsibilities of stakeholders, templates and instructions for tagging syntaxes, a tag tracker with who, what, why, where on each tag process and workflow is working, and of course a QA process. The third then is going to be to train. It's critical to make sure everyone is aligned and knowledgeable on the process. Encouraging multiple trainings, collaborations, knowledge sharing, it's all worthwhile to do, even a certification of a TMS system. Fourth, we get into the ability to govern. And so we all want to ensure we're delivering on the customer at the center mandate, and that means brands need to commit to responsible data governance. GDPR is going to be here just before we know it. All brands who handle EU data have to be in compliance by May of 2018. So it's crucial companies start thinking about this now. If you need help with your business's data governance and GDPR plan, Telium's got you covered. Just go to telium.com/GDPR for more information. And I'd like to add personally a fifth label here that's not really included, but that would be the label of an agency. Many agencies are steeped in handling data, they know how a TMS works, and they can work to meet your needs. They'll meet all these steps and guide you on best practices for each of them. If you want to learn more about the pioneer in leaner and tag management, Telium, or if you just want more information in general and resources, we can help you power your digital experiences and take control of your data today. If you're new to tag management, that's not a problem either. You can view a Telium demo and learn more on what exactly tag management is and how it can help build a foundation for your data and martech strategy. Marketers are saving thousands of dollars in development resources and are shortening implementation times with tag management. Plus, Telium integrates over 1,000 digital marketing vendors and protects and governs data between teams, tools, and technologies for total compliance. So contact us to see a demo today. So I want to thank everyone for joining. A lot of people at Telium for help putting this together. It's been fantastic talking to you guys today. And as a reminder, the webcast will be available on demand immediately after the presentation is over for your viewing pleasure. Thanks again, everyone.